You didn't plan for this kind of quiet. One by one, the messages slowed, the calls stopped, the rooms grew emptier. It happened so gradually that by the time you noticed, you were already standing alone, wondering how you got here. There's a particular grief in realizing you didn't cause the distance, yet you're the one left holding the silence. Most people assume seasons like this come from failure, from saying the wrong thing, being too much, or not enough. That assumption can sit heavy on your chest at night. But what if this quiet didn't come because something is wrong with you? What if it came because something is changing around you? Scripture is filled with faithful people who experienced narrowing before clarity arrived. If you feel confused or unsettled, you're not broken. You're standing in a moment many misunderstand, and what follows will make sense soon for you. When people leave, the mind looks for a reason, and it almost always turns inward. You replay conversations, tone, timing, moments you wish you could edit. Maybe you wonder if you were too honest, too quiet, too intense, or not interesting enough to hold their attention. Loneliness has a way of disguising itself as a verdict about your worth. But loss is not the same thing as rejection, even though it feels identical at first. Not every ending is a statement about who you are. Some endings happen because seasons shift, assignments change, and paths quietly diverge without explanation. Still, the heart asks, what did I do wrong? This is where many misunderstand this season. You assume distance equals disapproval, silence equals judgment. Yet Scripture often shows separation without condemnation, pruning without shame. If God were rejecting you, there would be no tenderness left, no ache to belong. The very pain you feel is proof your heart is alive, not disqualified, and there is more to understand next ahead. Now, there is a pattern in Scripture that often goes unnoticed because it unfolds quietly. Before clarity, there is narrowing. Before purpose, there is distance. Moses learned God's voice away from crowds, in a wilderness that stripped him down before it sent him forward. David was anointed, then hidden, growing familiar with solitude long before a throne appeared. These stories are not included to elevate their strength but to reveal God's method. He often removes people before revealing direction, not as punishment, but as preparation. The quiet seasons are where identity is settled without applause, where dependence deepens without witnesses. What most people don't realize is that public clarity without private formation rarely lasts. Scripture doesn't rush this process, and neither does God. Silence is not an interruption of the story. It is part of how the story is written. If your life feels reduced to fewer voices, fewer relationships, fewer explanations, you may be standing in a familiar place. This is not abandonment. It is alignment beginning quietly, and what comes next depends on how this hidden season reshapes you. Sometimes what leaves your life is not removed because it was harmful, but because it could not move forward with you. That truth is hard to hold when absence hurts, yet it matters more than we realize. Not every relationship ends in conflict. Some simply reach a limit where following God further would require them to change, and they were never meant to. We often interpret loss as God taking something away, when in reality He may be preventing something from slowing you down. Certain connections feel comfortable but quietly dilute who you are becoming. Others pull you backward without meaning to. Mercy does not always look gentle in the moment. This is where perspective begins to shift. Protection sometimes arrives disguised as loneliness, as space you never asked for. What feels like subtraction may actually be preservation. God guards what is growing before it is strong enough to stand exposed. If you could see the full picture, you might thank God for what ended. But for now, trust that separation is not cruelty. It is care, unfolding slowly. Still, dark seasons rarely come with explanations. There is no announcement, no timeline, no reassurance that tells you how long this will last. That uncertainty can stir anxiety, especially when nothing around you reflects the faith you're carrying inside. It feels like being overlooked when you are actually being covered. God often works in the dark because darkness removes distraction. Away from opinion, comparison, and noise, identity can form without pressure. Roots grow deepest underground, unseen, strengthening what will eventually stand in the light. Obscurity is not God stepping back. It is God leaning in closely. Many misunderstand this part. They assume invisibility means stagnation. But Scripture reminds us that becoming always happens before being seen. Waiting is not wasted time. It is shaping time. You don't need to force patience or pretend this doesn't hurt. It's enough to know that silence does not mean absence, and stillness does not mean delay. What God is forming quietly now will make sense later, and this season is preparing you for that unfolding. You were never meant to carry everyone forward with you. Some people were given to you for a chapter, not the entire story, even if that chapter mattered deeply. Letting go doesn't mean it was meaningless. It means it was complete. There is a quiet guilt that follows endings like this. You wonder if you should have tried harder, stayed smaller, compromised more just to keep the connection alive. But responsibility ends where assignment ends. God does not ask you to drag what He has already released. Scripture shows this gently, again and again. Ruth could not follow Naomi back into her former life. Jesus let the rich young ruler walk away, not because love was absent, but because alignment was required. You are allowed to bless what was without forcing it to continue. You are allowed to grieve without chasing. What is meant to walk with you into the next season will not require you to abandon yourself. As this truth settles, breathing becomes easier, and trust begins again. The quiet rebuild rarely announces itself. It doesn't arrive with instant answers or sudden replacements for what was lost. It begins softly, almost imperceptibly, as God lays foundations before He brings people. This is where many grow restless, mistaking slowness for neglect, when it is actually care. God rebuilds with intention. He restores connection only after identity is steady, clarity only after trust is rooted. Rushed rebuilding cracks under weight, but patient rebuilding lasts. What is coming will fit who you have become, not who you used to be. If tonight feels empty, it is not because you were forgotten. You are not alone by accident. You are being prepared in ways attention could never accomplish. Heaven sees you even when no one else does. There will be voices again. There will be alignment again. But first, there is strengthening. You do not need to hurry this season. You are not behind. You are held, guided, and known. And this quiet moment, as lonely as it feels, is part of how God is building something that will feel like home.